Life as a struggling single dad meant every penny counted, every moment cherished, especially with a boy like Leo. Their backyard was small, but to Leo, it was a kingdom waiting to be built. Little did they know, their crooked, scrap-wood treehouse, a testament to a father's love and ingenuity, was about to catch the eye of someone who could change their world in ways they never imagined. This humble act of fatherhood was about to become part of something monumental, connecting a struggling dad and his hopeful son to a global stage. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. The late afternoon sun, a bruised orange globe sinking towards the horizon, cast long, distorted shadows across the small backyard. Jake Abbott, his denim shirt clinging to his sweat-dampened back, grunted as he wrestled with a particularly stubborn 2x4. His hands, rough and calloused from years of odd jobs and the relentless demands of single fatherhood, were stained with sawdust and faint streaks of dried paint. He wasn't a carpenter by trade, far from it. He was a man who cobbled together a living, a jack of all trades with a heart full of love, and a wallet often feeling the chill of emptiness. His son, Leo, a whirlwind of boundless energy and unshakable optimism, sat cross-legged at the base of the old oak tree, meticulously sanding a small warped piece of lumber with a piece of sandpaper. At 7 years old, Leo possessed an imagination as vast as the western sky, and for weeks his singular focus had been the grand, magnificent, entirely imaginary treehouse that was destined to rise among the sturdy branches of their backyard oak. "Dad, is this piece straight enough for the window?" Leo asked, holding up his smoothed plank, his face alight with anticipation. A smudge of dirt artfully decorated his left cheek, and his sandy hair, perpetually falling into his bright blue eyes, mirrored Jake's own. Jake squinted at the piece, then at the half-formed platform perched precariously in the tree's lower branches. "Perfect, champ," he affirmed, a warmth spreading through his chest that had nothing to do with the setting sun. "That'll make the best window in the whole wide world." The treehouse was a patchwork quilt of salvaged materials. The main support beams were sturdy, if a little uneven, scavenged from an old barn demolition site. The flooring consisted of planks of various widths and shades, some reclaimed from discarded pallets, others gifted by a sympathetic neighbor who ran a small lumberyard. The walls, once they got to them, would be a motley collection of plywood scraps and thin sheets of corrugated metal, all destined to be painted a vibrant, defiant blue, Leo's favorite color. Every hammer swing, every splinter, every scraped knuckle was a testament to Jake's unwavering love for his son. Money was tight, a constant gnawing worry. The diner where he worked nights as a cook barely covered the rent and necessities. Luxuries were non-existent, but Leo's dreams, those were non-negotiable. A treehouse, in Leo's eyes, wasn't a luxury. It was a fundamental right, a portal to adventure, a fortress against imaginary dragons and childhood woes. "We need more nails, Dad," Leo announced, scrambling to his feet, his little carpenter's apron, oversized and borrowed from a friend, flapping around his knees, "and maybe some stronger rope for the ladder." Jake ruffled Leo's hair. "All right, General. We'll make a supply run tomorrow. See what treasures the hardware store has for us." He knew treasures meant the cheapest possible options, bought with coins he'd carefully set aside from his last paycheck. The thought of the meager funds made a familiar knot tighten in his stomach. He glanced towards the adjacent yard, neat and manicured, where the quiet, reserved neighbor, Mr. Albright, sometimes sat reading on his immaculate porch. Mr. Albright was an enigma, a man of quiet habits and impeccable taste, who kept mostly to himself. Jake often wondered what he thought of the cacophony of hammering, sawing, and joyful shouts that regularly emanated from his less-than-manicured backyard. As twilight deepened, casting a gentle haze over the suburban landscape, Jake and Leo carefully stacked their tools and admired their day's progress. The platform, though undeniably crooked in places, held a certain charm, a raw honesty. It was built with love, piece by painstaking piece, a physical manifestation of a father's devotion. "It's going to be the best treehouse ever, Dad," Leo whispered, his voice hushed with awe, his eyes gleaming in the fading light. Jake pulled his son close, wrapping an arm around his small shoulders. "The very best, champ, because we built it together." He stood there for a long moment, the scent of fresh-cut wood and damp earth filling his nostrils, the warmth of Leo's small body against his. The exhaustion in his bones was profound, but so was the satisfaction. He might not have much, but he had this. He had Leo, and he had the boundless dreams they built, plank by crooked plank, under the vast, indifferent sky. Little did he know that their humble, lopsided creation was about to be seen by eyes that could reshape not just its structure, but the very trajectory of their lives. The following weeks unfolded with a rhythm of determined labor and quiet joys. The treehouse, under Jake's persistent hands and Leo's unwavering enthusiasm, slowly began to take shape. The walls, a mosaic of mismatched wood and corrugated metal, rose, undeniably crooked in places, but sturdy enough to withstand Leo's imaginary assaults. The roof, a simple tarp for now, promised future protection from mythical rainstorms. Every evening, after Jake's shift at the diner, they would dedicate a few precious hours to their shared masterpiece, the setting sun often catching the glint of their hammer and the dust motes dancing around them. The small backyard, once merely a patch of grass, had been transformed into a bustling construction site, a testament to their collaborative spirit. Jake, fueled by strong coffee and an even stronger desire to see Leo's dreams realized, taught his son the basics of carpentry, of measuring twice and cutting once, of the satisfaction that came from honest labor. Leo, a quick study, absorbed every lesson with an eager curiosity, his small fingers surprisingly adept with a screwdriver, his mind already envisioning secret compartments and hidden escape routes. Their little project didn't go unnoticed. The occasional delivery driver or the mailman would pause, curiosity piqued by the growing, unconventional structure in the oak tree. Jake would offer a tired smile and a wave, often deflecting questions about the materials or the haphazard angles with a mumbled explanation about creative engineering. He was acutely aware that their treehouse, while magical in Leo's eyes, was far from architecturally sound. It was built with love, not blueprints. Mr. Albright, their quiet neighbor, remained a mystery. Sometimes, Jake would catch a glimpse of him through the dense foliage of their shared fence line, sitting on his perfectly manicured patio, seemingly absorbed in a book or simply gazing out at his own pristine garden. Jake often wondered if the constant hammering and sawing, the joyful shouts of Leo, disturbed Mr. Albright's serene existence. He imagined the man, precise and orderly, probably cringing at the sight of their ramshackle construction, a stark contrast to the elegant lines of Mr. Albright's own meticulously designed home. One particularly warm Saturday, Jake was struggling to hoist a long plank for the treehouse's upper platform. He grunted with effort, the wood heavy and unwieldy, threatening to slip from his grasp. Just as he thought he'd have to give up and find another way, a calm, steady voice cut through the air. "Need a hand with that, son?" Jake turned, surprised. It was Mr. Albright, standing by the fence, his normally unreadable face etched with a hint of concern. He was dressed in crisp, clean clothes, as always, a stark contrast to Jake's paint-splattered jeans and warm work shirt. "Oh, Mr. Albright, no, I've got it," Jake mumbled, feeling a flush creep up his neck. He didn't want to impose, and he certainly didn't want the man to see the full extent of his amateur carpentry. But Mr. Albright, without another word, stepped through a small gate in the fence that Jake hadn't even noticed before. He moved with a quiet efficiency, his hands, surprisingly strong and capable, reaching for the other end of the plank. Together, with a synchronized heave, they managed to lift the wood into place. "Thank you, Mr. Albright," Jake said, genuinely grateful. "Albright," the man corrected, his voice mild. "Just Albright is fine." He paused, surveying the crooked walls and uneven platform of the treehouse. His gaze, usually so distant, seemed to take in every detail, every angle, every mismatched piece of wood. Jake braced himself for a polite critique, perhaps even an offer to fix the more egregious structural flaws. But Albright simply nodded slowly, Remarkable, he murmured, his gaze lingering on Leo, who was now excitedly pointing out the features of his future fortress. A testament to imagination and to perseverance. He turned back to Jake, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. "You've done good work here, Mr. Abbott. Very good work." Jake blinked, surprised by the genuine compliment. He had expected anything but praise. "It's for Leo," he explained, a little sheepishly. "He's always wanted a treehouse." Albright nodded again, his gaze returning to the treehouse, a thoughtful expression on his face. He seemed to be seeing not just the crooked angles and salvaged wood, but the heart and effort woven into every plank. "Indeed," he said, his voice carrying a deeper resonance. "A father's love, built manifest. It's truly inspiring." He then turned, offering a small, polite nod, and walked back through the gate, closing it softly behind him. Jake stood there for a moment, the plank now secured, his mind replaying Albright's unexpected words. Remarkable. Inspiring. He had certainly not expected that from the quiet, meticulous neighbor. It was a small interaction, but it left Jake with a strange sense of warmth, a quiet respect for the man he barely knew. He had no idea just how profound that quiet respect was about to become. The unexpected compliment from Mr. Albright lingered in Jake's mind for days, a small, unexpected warmth in the often chilly landscape of his daily struggles. He continued working on the treehouse with renewed vigor, the memory of Albright's quiet approval subtly bolstering his confidence. The little structure in the oak tree, though still a charmingly crooked assembly of salvaged parts, felt infused with a new, quiet dignity. One particularly sweltering Tuesday, as Jake returned from a long, exhausting shift at the diner, the smell of grease and stale coffee clinging to his clothes, he noticed a pristine white envelope tucked into his front door. It was addressed to Mr. Jacob Abbott in an elegant, flowing script. Curiosity piqued, he opened it, his brow furrowing as he read the formal, yet oddly compelling invitation. It was from Mr. Albright, requesting his presence the following evening at his home, promising a discussion of mutual interest. Jake felt a ripple of apprehension. What could Mr. Albright possibly want to discuss? Had his sporadic hammering finally pushed the quiet neighbor to complain? Or perhaps he was offering to buy some of Jake's scrap wood, mistaking his treehouse materials for a new form of yard debris. He glanced at the treehouse, then back at the elegant envelope, a stark contrast to his own worn hands. The next evening, Jake found himself standing on Albright's perfectly manicured porch, feeling acutely aware of his own patched jeans and slightly scuffed boots. He smoothed down his shirt, took a deep breath, and knocked. The door swung open, revealing Albright, impeccably dressed as always, a faint, almost imperceptible smile on his lips. "Mr. Abbott, please, come in," Albright invited, his voice calm and welcoming. Jake stepped into a world of understated elegance. The interior of Albright's home was a symphony of clean lines, natural light, and tasteful, minimalist furnishings. Every object seemed to have its place, every detail meticulously considered. It was a stark contrast to Jake's own lived-in, slightly chaotic home. Albright led him to a spacious study, lined with books and adorned with intricate architectural models resting on pedestals. The air hummed with a quiet intellectual energy. Jake's gaze fell upon a framed photograph on a large mahogany desk. It was a picture of Albright, much younger, standing beside a gleaming, futuristic building that seemed to defy gravity, its sleek curves and towering height breathtaking. Next to it was a series of awards, gleaming gold and silver, their inscriptions too small to read from a distance. "Please, have a seat, Mr. Abbott." Albright gestured to a comfortable leather armchair. He sat opposite him, behind the desk. "I apologize for the formality, but I wish to discuss something of importance." Jake's heart began to thump a little faster. He braced himself. "Of course, Mr. Albright." Albright leaned forward, his gaze direct and piercing. "Mr. Abbott, I believe I owe you an introduction. My full name is Arthur Albright." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the models in his study, then back to Jake. "And, professionally, I am an architect. A rather well-known one, I suppose." He gestured vaguely at the awards and the photograph. I specialize in sustainable and community-focused design. My work has taken me all over the world. Jake's jaw dropped. Arthur Albright. The name clicked into place. The renowned architect whose groundbreaking designs had graced the covers of countless magazines, whose work was celebrated for its innovative spirit and its seamless integration with nature. The quiet, reserved neighbor next door was that Arthur Albright. The revelation hit Jake with the force of a physical blow. He felt a flush of embarrassment about his rickety treehouse, about his own humble circumstances. I had no idea, Mr. Albright, Jake stammered, feeling like a clumsy ox in a china shop. Albright chuckled softly, a genuine warm sound that surprised Jake. Few do, Mr. Abbott. I value my privacy here. But your treehouse it captured my attention. He leaned back, his eyes twinkling. I've observed your progress with a considerable interest. Jake's face burned. He imagined Albright, a man of such precision and genius, watching his amateur efforts, perhaps stifling polite laughter. I confess, Albright continued, his voice taking on a more serious tone. I initially noted its unique structural characteristics, but then I began to see something else. The dedication, the ingenuity with what you have, the sheer joy of creation, and the profound love woven into every, as you so aptly put it, crooked plank. He paused, letting his words sink in. It reminded me, Mr. Abbott, of the purest form of architecture. Not the grand designs, but the heart, the purpose, the connection between a creator and those for whom it is built. And Jake swallowed, unsure what to say. He was still reeling from the revelation of Albright's identity. And that, Albright continued, his voice gaining a new resonance, is why I've invited you here. I am currently spearheading a national initiative, a project funded by a rather substantial philanthropic organization to celebrate fatherhood through the lens of community building. We are seeking to identify and redesign unique, heartfelt projects that embody the spirit of paternal dedication, transforming them into symbols of inspiration for communities across the nation. He leaned forward, his eyes shining with an almost boyish excitement. Your treehouse, Mr. Abbott, with its raw honesty, its obvious love, and its inherent potential, is precisely the kind of project we are looking for. We would like to redesign it, professionally, of course, incorporating sustainable materials and a sound architectural plan, while preserving its original spirit and your unique touch. Jake stared at him, dumbfounded. Redesign the treehouse? As part of a national project? It was an offer so outlandish, so utterly beyond anything he could have ever conceived, that he struggled to comprehend it. His crooked, scrap-wood treehouse, a symbol of his limitations, was suddenly being seen as a symbol of something grander, something inspiring. And the quiet neighbor, the world-famous architect, was offering to make it real. His mind reeled. This was not just about a treehouse. This was about a chance to change everything. Jake sat there, stunned into silence, the words of Arthur Albright echoing in the elegant study. Redesign the treehouse? A national project? It felt like a dream, one of those impossibly optimistic scenarios that only happened in books or on the silver screen. His mind, accustomed to the gritty realities of everyday struggle, found it difficult to grasp the magnitude of the offer. A national project, Mr. Albright? Jake finally managed to stammer, his voice a little hoarse. For Leo's treehouse? Albright nodded, a faint reassuring smile on his lips. Indeed. We call it the Legacy Builds Initiative. It's about celebrating the inherent beauty and strength in everyday acts of fatherhood, showcasing how love, ingenuity, and community spirit can build something truly extraordinary. Your treehouse, Mr. Abbott, embodies all of that. He gestured towards the large desk, where a series of architectural sketches lay spread out. We would provide the resources, the materials, the expertise. Our team of engineers and designers would work closely with you, ensuring that Leo's vision and your original intent remain at the heart of the new design. Jake's mind raced. The implications were immense. This wasn't just about a sturdier treehouse. It was about an opportunity, a spotlight, a chance to perhaps secure a future for Leo he could only dream of, but also a sense of vulnerability, of opening up their quiet, personal project to the scrutiny of a national audience. He thought of Leo's boundless joy, of his unwavering faith in their crooked creation. Would a redesigned, professionally built treehouse still feel like their treehouse? What would be expected of us? Jake asked, his voice cautious. Would it be a public thing? Interviews? Pictures? Albright anticipated his concerns. There would be some public exposure, yes. A brief media campaign, perhaps a dedication ceremony once completed. But your privacy, and especially Leo's, would be paramount. We would handle all media interactions, ensuring you are comfortable every step of the way. The primary focus is on the story, the spirit of what you've built, not on excessive personal intrusion. He leaned forward, his gaze earnest. Mr. Abbott, this project isn't about building the biggest or most elaborate treehouse. It's about recognizing the heart of what you've already created. It's about helping you build a safer, more enduring structure for your son, a structure that reflects the profound love you've already poured into it, and in doing so, inspiring countless other fathers and communities. Jake looked at Albright, the world-renowned architect, sitting across from him with such genuine sincerity. There was no condescension, no hint of judgment, only a deep respect for the simple act of a father building something for his son. The initial embarrassment Jake had felt about his own humble efforts began to recede, replaced by a surge of unexpected pride. He thought of Leo, of his unbridled joy. He thought of the constant worry about money, about providing for his son. This offer wasn't just about a treehouse, it was about alleviating some of that burden, about getting Leo something truly special, something that would last. I'd need to talk to Leo, Jake said, the words a little shaky. It's his treehouse after all. His vision. Albright nodded, a gentle smile returning to his face. Of course. That's perfectly understandable. Take all the time you need. This isn't a decision to be rushed. But know that our offer stands, and we are very hopeful that you will consider it. Jake left Albright's elegant home that evening in a daze. The cool night air felt different, charged with possibility. He walked through his own modest gate, the familiar scent of damp earth and growing things filling his senses. He looked up at the silhouette of their crooked treehouse against the starlit sky, no longer seeing its flaws, but its potential. He found Leo already asleep, tucked into his bed, a worn picture book clutched in his small hand. Jake sat on the edge of the bed, gently stroking his son's hair. How could he explain such an impossible dream to a 7-year-old? How could he convey the sheer scale of the opportunity without overwhelming his innocent understanding? The next morning, over pancakes and maple syrup, Jake carefully broached the subject. He described Albright, not as a world-famous architect, but as a kind neighbor who truly admired their treehouse. He explained that Albright wanted to help them make it even better, safer, stronger, so it would last for many, many years. Leo's eyes, bright with curiosity, widened with each word. Like magic, Dad? He asked, a hint of awe in his voice. Like a real castle, but for our tree? Jake smiled. Something like that, champ. But it'll still be our treehouse. We'll help design it, tell them where the secret passages should go, and maybe even a working periscope. Leo's face lit up, his imagination already soaring. A periscope, and a drawbridge, and a secret slide. Seeing Leo's unbridled excitement, Jake knew his answer. This wasn't a compromise of their original vision. It was an expansion of it, a chance to make Leo's dreams even grander, even more enduring. It was a leap of faith, a step into the unknown, but one taken with the profound certainty that it was for Leo, and for their future. The struggling dad had found an unexpected ally, and their crooked treehouse was about to become something truly remarkable. The decision to accept Arthur Albright's offer sent a ripple of exhilarating anticipation through Jake and Leo's small home. For days, Leo bounced with barely contained excitement, his mind already spinning with grander designs for his future fortress. He drew intricate blueprints with crayon on scrap paper, detailing elaborate pulley systems, hidden escape routes, and a periscope that would allow him to survey his kingdom from above. Jake watched him, a profound warmth spreading through his chest, a testament to the unexpected joy that had blossomed from a simple act of fatherhood. The reality of the Legacy Builds initiative began to unfold with a surprising speed and efficiency. Albright, true to his word, handled all the initial media inquiries with a quiet grace, ensuring that Jake and Leo's privacy was respected while generating considerable interest in the project. Reporters from local papers initially, and then national magazines, contacted Albright, eager to hear the story of the humble treehouse that had captured the attention of a world-renowned architect. A team of Albright's associates, young, enthusiastic architects and engineers, arrived at the Whispering Pines a few days later. They were respectful, inquisitive, and genuinely fascinated by Jake and Leo's original structure. They meticulously measured every crooked angle, every uneven plank, their faces alight with a mixture of professional curiosity and genuine admiration for the raw ingenuity of Jake's work. The structural integrity is unique. One young engineer, a polite woman named Maria, remarked to Jake, a slight smile playing on her lips. "But the passion, Mr. Abbott, that's evident in every joint." Jake found himself explaining his amateur techniques, his reliance on intuition over blueprints, his desperate search for salvageable materials. He spoke of Leo's unwavering vision, of the countless hours they had spent together, dreaming and building. The architects listened intently, their questions respectful, their admiration palpable. It was a strange reversal of roles, a struggling single dad teaching experienced professionals about the true heart of building. Albright himself was a constant, though unobtrusive, presence. He would often appear in the backyard, observing the team, chatting with Jake and Leo, his eyes always returning to the original treehouse with a thoughtful, almost reverent gaze. He wasn't just a patron, he was a mentor, a silent guide, offering subtle suggestions that blended seamlessly with their vision. The initial redesign phase was a collaborative effort, a fascinating interplay between raw passion and professional expertise. Jake and Leo were invited to Albright's studio, a sleek, modern space filled with architectural models and gleaming computers. Leo, wide-eyed, pointed out his desired features, and the architects, with surprising patience, translated his crayon sketches into intricate digital renderings. They discussed materials, exploring sustainable wood, recycled components, and innovative safety features that would make the new treehouse a true masterpiece of both design and resilience. "We want to keep the essence of your original design, Mr. Abbott," Albright explained one afternoon as they reviewed a preliminary model of the proposed treehouse. "The charming asymmetry, the organic integration with the tree, the sense of whimsical adventure. But we will provide the structural soundness, the weatherproofing, and the longevity it deserves." Jake looked at the model, a miniature replica of their treehouse, but somehow grander, more refined, yet still undeniably theirs. It had a sturdy, multi-level platform, a spiraling slide, a retractable rope ladder, and a clever periscope that truly worked. It was a marvel, a testament to what could be achieved when dreams met expertise. A surge of profound gratitude washed over him. This was beyond anything he could have ever hoped to give Leo. The construction phase began a few weeks later. Large trucks rumbled into the quiet neighborhood, delivering carefully milled lumber, durable composites, and specialized tools. Professional builders, quiet and efficient, transformed their backyard into a dynamic construction site. The original crooked structure was carefully dismantled, each piece catalogued, some preserved for integration into the new design, others kept as sentimental mementos. For a brief, unsettling moment, as the old treehouse came down, a pang of loss went through Jake. It was a symbol of their humble beginnings, of the hard-won victories. But then he looked at Leo, his face alight with excitement as he watched the new, gleaming framework rise among the branches, and he knew they were building something even better, something that would last. The new treehouse rose quickly, a symphony of skilled labor and meticulous planning. It was larger, stronger, more beautiful than anything Jake could have ever imagined. It had multiple levels, a small enclosed room for sleeping, a larger open platform for stargazing, and a dizzying slide that spiraled down to the ground. The materials were top-notch, the craftsmanship impeccable. Yet, amidst the precision and the professionalism, the essence of their original, crooked charm remained. A small section of the original mismatched planks was integrated into the interior wall, a quiet nod to its humble beginnings. Albright, witnessing Jake's almost obsessive involvement in the building process, offered him a temporary position on the project, not as a laborer, but as a consultant, an advisor on the unique spirit of the father-son bond. It was a lifeline, a desperately needed income that alleviated some of the relentless financial pressure. Jake, for the first time in years, felt a sense of professional purpose beyond merely making ends meet. He was no longer just a struggling cook, he was a contributor, a valued member of a team building something extraordinary. As the completion date drew near, the local community buzzed with anticipation. The story of the crooked treehouse and the famous architect had spread far and wide, capturing the imagination of many. The dedication ceremony, Albright informed them, would be a modest affair, but attended by local dignitaries, representatives from the philanthropic organization, and a few select media outlets. Jake looked at the magnificent structure that now dominated their backyard, its sleek lines blending harmoniously with the ancient oak, and felt a profound sense of pride. This wasn't just a treehouse, it was a testament to love, to perseverance, to the transformative power of unexpected kindness. And for the first time, Jake Abbott, the struggling single dad, began to truly believe that he wasn't just building a treehouse for his son. He was building a legacy. The final touches on the treehouse were a flurry of activity, a symphony of skilled hands and hushed instructions. The scent of fresh wood mingled with the crisp autumn air, and the anticipation in the Abbott backyard was almost palpable. The crooked but magical creation, once a testament to resourceful love, had been transformed into a breathtaking architectural marvel, a stunning blend of whimsical design and structural integrity. Yet, as Arthur Albright had promised, the spirit of Jake and Leo's original vision remained, subtly woven into the very fabric of the new structure. The day of the dedication ceremony dawned bright and clear, the sun casting a golden glow over the whispering pines, as Jake now affectionately called their small property. A small crowd had gathered, a mixture of curious neighbors, local officials, a few national media representatives, and representatives from the Legacy Builds initiative. Jake, dressed in his best, slightly worn suit, felt a nervous flutter in his stomach. He was accustomed to the quiet anonymity of his life, not the bright glare of public attention. Leo, however, was a whirlwind of pure, unadulterated excitement. Dressed in new overalls, his eyes wide with awe, he darted around the base of the treehouse, pointing out the newly installed periscope, the sturdy rope ladder, and the gleaming slide that promised dizzying adventures. His infectious joy was a powerful antidote to Jake's apprehension. Arthur Albright, impeccably dressed as always, stood beside Jake, a calm and reassuring presence. He greeted guests with a quiet dignity, his eyes constantly scanning the crowd, ensuring everything was in order. He leaned closer to Jake, a genuine smile on his face. "This is your moment, Mr. Abbott." And Leo's. The ceremony began with a few words from a representative of the philanthropic organization, highlighting the mission of the Legacy Builds initiative and the importance of fatherhood. Then, the mayor of Promise Creek offered a heartfelt speech, praising Jake's dedication and the inspiring story of the treehouse. Finally, it was Arthur Albright's turn. He spoke with a quiet eloquence, his voice carrying clearly across the assembled crowd. He didn't just speak of the architectural merits of the treehouse, though he lauded its innovative design and sustainable materials. He spoke of the heart of the project. "When I first saw this humble structure," Albright began, his gaze sweeping over the magnificent treehouse, then resting on Jake and Leo, "I saw something more than just wood and nails. I saw a father's unwavering love, expressed in every painstaking effort, every salvaged piece of material. I saw a child's boundless imagination, given form by a parent's devotion. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the true essence of architecture. Not merely the creation of buildings, but the creation of spaces that foster love, connection, and dreams." He paused, a slight catch in his voice. "Mr. Abbott, you built something truly extraordinary. You built not just a treehouse, but a testament to the power of fatherhood, even in the face of adversity. It is our hope that this legacy build will serve as a beacon, inspiring fathers across the nation to build their own legacies, however humble or grand, with the same profound love and dedication." The applause was warm and genuine. Jake, standing beside Leo, felt a lump form in his throat. He glanced at Leo, whose face was beaming, his eyes fixed on the treehouse with an almost sacred reverence. Then, Albright gestured for Jake to speak. Jake stepped forward, his heart pounding, his hands suddenly feeling clammy. He was not a public speaker, accustomed to quiet conversations in the solitude of his work. But looking out at the faces of his neighbors, of the people who had quietly supported him, and then at Leo, his bright eyes shining, he found his voice. I don't have many fancy words," Jake began, his voice a little rough at first, then gaining strength. "I'm just a dad who wanted to build something special for his son. Leo, he's got the biggest imagination of any kid I know. And when he told me he wanted a treehouse, well, I just had to try." He gestured to the gleaming structure. "We built the first one with whatever we could find, bit by bit. It wasn't pretty. It was kinda crooked, but it was ours." He paused, a faint smile touching his lips. "And then, Mr. Albright, he saw something in it. Something I didn't even see myself. He saw the love. And he gave us this incredible gift. He helped us make Leo's dream, and my promise, even bigger, stronger." He looked at Albright, a deep, silent gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you, Arthur, for seeing what I was trying to do, and for making it something truly special." He turned to the crowd, his gaze sweeping over their faces. "This treehouse," he continued, his voice resonating with heartfelt emotion, "it's more than just a place to play. It's a reminder that even when things are tough, even when you think you don't have enough, if you put your heart into it, and if you have people who believe in you, anything is possible. And for any other dads out there, struggling, trying to do your best for your kids, just keep building, keep loving. It's the most important thing you'll ever do." The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of warmth washing over Jake. He looked down at Leo, who had slipped his small hand into Jake's large one, his eyes filled with a mixture of pride and adoration. In that moment, surrounded by the community, by the beauty of the treehouse, and by the boundless love for his son, Jake knew that he was no longer just a struggling dad. He was a father, a builder, a man who had discovered his true purpose in the most unexpected of circumstances. And as Leo pulled in towards the newly installed slide, eager to explore their magnificent creation, Jake felt a profound sense of belonging, a contentment that stretched as wide and as open as the Arizona sky. Their journey, born from a crooked lie and transformed by unexpected kindness, had truly come home. The dedication ceremony marked a pivotal shift in Jake and Leo's lives. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of gentle media attention, local interviews, and a surge of unexpected opportunities. The story of the crooked treehouse and the renowned architect had touched a chord with people across the country, a heartwarming narrative of fatherly love and resilience. Jake, once just a face in the diner kitchen, found himself becoming a symbol of quiet dedication, his unassuming nature adding to the appeal of their extraordinary tale. The Legacy Builds initiative, spurred by the success of the Treehouse project, offered Jake a more permanent consulting role. He was tasked with scouting other potential projects across the country, identifying similar heartfelt endeavors by fathers building for their children, projects that could be transformed into inspiring symbols for beating their communities. It was a role that played to his strengths, combining his intuitive understanding of people and his pragmatic approach to building. The financial stability it provided was a profound relief, lifting the constant weight of worry that had shadowed his existence for so long. For Leo, the treehouse became everything he had ever dreamed of, and more. It was his fortress, his spaceship, his secret hideout. He spent countless hours climbing, exploring, and creating imaginary worlds within its sturdy walls. He invited friends from school, their wide-eyed awe a constant source of amusement for Jake. The treehouse wasn't just a play structure, it was a tangible symbol of his father's love, a concrete manifestation of a dream realized. Their relationship with Arthur Albright also deepened into a genuine friendship. Albright, shedding some of his initial reserve, would often visit, not as a patron or a colleague, but as a friend. He'd sit on the porch with Jake, sharing stories of his travels, discussing architectural philosophies, and sometimes simply enjoying the quiet companionship as Leo played in his magnificent treehouse. Jake, in turn, found in Albright a wise confidant, a man who understood the intricate balance of dreams and practicality, and who saw beyond the surface of things. One crisp winter evening, as the first flakes of snow began to drift lazily from the sky, dusting the branches of the oak tree in white, Jake and Lydia sat by the warm fireplace. Lydia, having been an integral, though often quiet, witness to the entire transformation, was a steadfast presence in Jake's life. Her quiet strength and unwavering support had been the bedrock upon which he built everything. "It's incredible, isn't it?" Lydia mused, her gaze fixed on the dancing flames. "How much has changed? Our lives, this ranch, even you, Caleb." Jake chuckled, reaching out to take her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. "And you, Lydia, you're blooming." He had seen the subtle shifts in her, the way she carried herself with a new confidence, the lightness in her laugh. She had found her own strength, her own voice, in the midst of their shared journey. He paused, reflecting on the path that had led him here. "I was just a farmhand, drifting, with no real direction. Then you called me husband, and you helped me find my way. Then this treehouse, it showed me that there's more to building than just wood and nails." Lydia turned to him, her eyes shining with warmth. "It showed you that you have the heart of a builder, Caleb. A builder of dreams, a builder of family, a builder of legacy." His heart swelled with gratitude. He was no longer defined by his struggles, by the limitations of his past. He was a father, a partner, a man who had discovered his true purpose. The treehouse, standing tall and proud in the backyard, bathed in the soft glow of the porch light, was a silent testament to their journey. It was a symbol of unexpected blessings, of love that found its way through crooked paths, and of dreams that, with a little help and a lot of heart, could reach for the sky. As the years passed, the treehouse became a landmark, a beloved centerpiece of their family life. Leo grew older, but his love for the treehouse never waned. It remained his sanctuary, a place where he could dream, read, and remember the incredible story of how it came to be. Jake and Lydia watched him, their hearts full, knowing that the humble, crooked structure had not only changed their lives, but had also built a foundation for a future filled with love, purpose, and endless possibilities. The treehouse, a symbol of a father's enduring love, stood as a quiet, magnificent monument to the day a struggling dad built a treehouse for his boy, unaware that a neighbor, a world-famous architect, was about to weave their story into a national tapestry of fatherhood, transforming a simple act of love into a lasting legacy. Jake watched Leo climb into the treehouse, the boy's laughter echoing through the crisp morning air. The sun, just peeking over the distant hills, cast a warm golden light on the perfectly proportioned structure, making the polished wood gleam. It had been years since the dedication ceremony, and the initial whirlwind of media attention had long since subsided, leaving behind a quiet contentment that settled deep in Jake's bones. The "Legacy Builds" initiative had flourished, and Jake's role within it had grown, transforming him from a struggling single dad into a respected figure in the world of community development. He traveled more now, visiting other fathers, listening to their stories, and helping them realize their own heartfelt projects. Each journey, each new connection, reinforced the profound lesson he had learned in his own backyard, that true building began with love. Leo, now a bright and curious teenager, still retreated to the treehouse when he needed space, a quiet place to read, or to simply stare at the stars. It remained his sanctuary, a tangible reminder of his father's unwavering love and the remarkable story of its creation. Their relationship had evolved too, no longer just a father and son navigating the everyday, but two individuals who shared a unique history, a bond forged in scraped knees, sawdust, and dreams that had soared higher than any tree. Lydia, a constant source of strength and quiet wisdom, was Jake's anchor. Her own career had blossomed, her insights into sustainable community growth proving invaluable to the Legacy Builds Foundation. They often work together now, their individual strengths complementing each other in powerful ways. Their evenings, after the day's work was done and Leo was settled, were filled with a comfortable silence, punctuated by shared smiles and the quiet understanding that comes from years of intertwined lives. They would sit on the porch swing, watching the changing seasons paint the landscape, content in the life they had built together. One late afternoon, as Jake was preparing to leave for a trip to a remote community in the Pacific Northwest, Leo approached him in the backyard, a thoughtful expression on his face. He held a small weathered piece of wood in his hand, a splintered, uneven plank that Jake recognized instantly. It was a piece of the original, crooked treehouse, carefully preserved. "Dad," Leo began, turning the wood over in his fingers. "Remember how we built this? Just you and me, with whatever we could find?" Jake smiled, a warmth spreading through him. "I remember, champ, every single splinter." Leo looked up, his blue eyes, so like Jake's own, filled with a new depth. "I want to do something like that. Not a treehouse maybe, but something to help people, something that means as much as this does to us." He gestured to the magnificent treehouse, then back to the scrap of wood in his hand. A surge of paternal pride swelled within Jake. This was his legacy, not just the physical structure in the tree, but the spirit of service, the understanding that real value lay not in material wealth, but in connection, in contribution, in building something meaningful for others. "What are you thinking, son?" Jake asked, his voice soft, encouraging. Leo's eyes shone with youthful idealism. "I've been reading about communities struggling with access to clean water in remote areas. I think I want to study engineering and find ways to build sustainable water systems for them, like how we found that secret spring for our treehouse, but for real communities." Jake pulled his son into a tight hug, his heart overflowing. The ambitious dream, the unwavering compassion, the desire to make a tangible difference in the world. It was all Leo. And it was all a testament to the life they had built together, piece by painstaking piece. Under the vast, indifferent sky, transformed by an unexpected encounter, but rooted in the enduring power of a father's love. As Jake drove away the next morning, heading towards a new project and new stories, he glanced back at his home. The treehouse, standing sentinel in the vibrant green of the oak, was more than just wood and nails. It was a beacon, a symbol of hope and transformation. It represented the crooked paths life sometimes took, the unexpected turns that led to profound discoveries. It was a testament to the belief that even the humblest of beginnings, fueled by love and a bit of ingenuity, could lead to a legacy that stretched far beyond one man's backyard, reaching out to touch the lives of others, building not just structures, but communities and futures, one breath, heartfelt dream at a time. The struggling dad had built a treehouse for his boy, and in doing so, had built a life, a family, and a purpose that resonated with the quiet, powerful truth of enduring love. Years later, the little house with the famous treehouse in its backyard became a quiet landmark in the neighborhood. Leo went off to college, his mind brimming with schematics for self-sustaining water purification systems, his pockets occasionally jingling with the small scholarship funds that Arthur Albright had quietly arranged. Jake and Lydia felt the poignant ache of an empty nest, but it was quickly filled with a renewed sense of shared purpose and the joyful anticipation of Leo's visits. Jake's role at Legacy Builds had expanded significantly. He was no longer just scouting projects. He was designing workshops, training new community leaders, and even occasionally speaking at conferences. His raw, honest delivery, a refreshing contrast to the polished speeches of academics. He spoke of the spirit of the build, of the invisible threads of love and connection that truly made a structure stand strong. He often drew on the metaphor of the original treehouse, its crookedness representing the imperfections of life, its transformation symbolizing the power of unwavering devotion and unexpected help. Lydia, meanwhile, took on a more prominent role in local community development. She spearheaded initiatives to create shared garden spaces, organized skill-sharing workshops for single parents, and advocated for affordable housing, always bringing her meticulous planning and compassionate spirit to every endeavor. Their lives, once defined by individual struggles, had become a symphony of collaborative effort, their home a hub of quiet innovation and unwavering support for those around them. Arthur Albright, now a dear friend, remained a constant, treasured presence. He would often drop by unannounced, bringing a rare bottle of wine for Jake and Lydia, or a new engineering puzzle for Leo during his breaks from college. His quiet observations, his insightful questions, continued to challenge Jake's perspective, pushing him to think beyond the immediate, to consider the long-term impact of every decision. Their conversations often drifted to the deeper meanings of architecture, of how spaces shaped lives, and how communities, like buildings, needed strong foundations of trust and mutual respect. One evening, as the three of them sat on the porch, the summer twilight painting the sky in soft hues of lavender and rose, Albright raised his glass. "To legacies," he said, his eyes twinkling as he looked at Jake. "Not just those of brick and mortar, but those of spirit, of love, of the indelible marks we leave on each other." Jake smiled, a profound sense of gratitude washing over him. He thought of his own journey, from the solitary existence of a struggling cook to the rich tapestry of his current life. He thought of the early days, the constant anxiety, the raw desperation to provide for Leo. The treehouse, in its original, ramshackle form, had been born of that desperation, but also of a powerful, unshakable love. And then, Albright, a figure from a world so far removed from his own, had stepped in, not with judgment, but with an offer of collaboration, a recognition of the inherent worth in a father's simple act. The treehouse itself, while perfectly maintained, had begun to show the gentle patina of age, its wood weathered by countless seasons, its metal gleaming softly. It wasn't just a structure, it was a living monument to their shared history. Children from the neighborhood, now accustomed to the famous treehouse, would often ask to climb inside, their imaginations alight with stories of its magical transformation. Jake and Leo would happily oblige, sometimes even joining them, reliving their own childhood adventures within its sturdy walls. One particularly poignant moment occurred during one of Leo's summer visits from college. He was working on a complex design for a water filtration system for a remote village in South America, his drawings spread across the large kitchen table. Jake, watching him, saw not just the focused young man, but the little boy who had meticulously sanded scrap wood for his crooked window. "You know, Dad," Leo said, looking up from his plans, "Albright always says that the best designs are the ones that serve the people, that bring comfort and hope. He said that's what he saw in our treehouse, even before it was, this. He gestured vaguely towards the backyard. Jake nodded, a lump forming in his throat. He was right, champ. It was never really about the wood, or how straight the walls were. It was always about what it meant. About love. Leo smiled, a knowing, mature light in his eyes. "And that's what I want to build. Love, with clean water. It's like the next chapter of our treehouse, isn't it?" Jake felt a tear prick the corner of his eye. It was indeed. The legacy wasn't just about a physical structure. It was about the ripple effect of kindness, the cascading impact of one heartfelt act, transforming lives and inspiring others to build their own unique contributions to the world. He had built a treehouse for his boy, unaware of the profound ripple it would create. But now, he knew. He knew that the greatest structures weren't made of steel and concrete, but of the unbreakable bonds of family, friendship, and the quiet, enduring power of a father's love. The journey, from the diner kitchen to a national platform, from a crooked treehouse to a global vision, was complete. He was no longer just a struggling dad. He was a legacy builder, and his greatest masterpiece was the life he had built, one loving plank at a time, with Leo and Lydia by his side. The passing of years brought a gentle maturity to the life Jake and Leo had built. The treehouse, now a seasoned sentinel in the backyard, bore the marks of countless childhood adventures, its wood softened by the sun and rain, its paint a little faded but still vibrant. It was a living testament to memory, laughter, and the enduring power of a dream realized. Leo, having graduated with honors, had embarked on a career that echoed his youthful aspirations, designing and implementing sustainable water systems in underserved communities across the globe. His work was demanding, his travels frequent, but his visits home were always a cherished highlight, filled with stories of distant lands and the profound impact of his efforts. Jake, having transitioned from his consulting role to a more senior position within Legacy Builds, found immense satisfaction in mentoring younger fathers, guiding them through the process of transforming their own heartfelt projects into symbols of community strength. He often shared the story of his own treehouse, not as a tale of extraordinary luck, but as a narrative of how genuine intention, combined with unexpected generosity, could create ripples of change far beyond one's immediate world. He learned to embrace the quiet wisdom that came with age, his rough hands now smoother, but his spirit just as resilient. Lydia, a pillar of grace and unwavering support, continued to be Jake's anchor and confidant. Her community initiatives had blossomed, transforming local neighborhoods with shared resources and strengthened bonds. She often accompanied Jake on his travels when their schedules allowed, her compassionate insights proving invaluable in understanding the diverse needs of different communities. Their evenings, after the day's commitments, were a sanctuary of shared quiet, punctuated by the rustle of turning pages, the soft glow of a lamp, and the unspoken comfort of a love that had grown deeper and richer with time. Arthur Albright, now a revered elder in the architectural world, remained a beloved presence in their lives. His visits became less frequent as age began to catch up with him, but his mind remained as sharp as ever, his spirit as keen. He would often call, his voice crackling over the phone line, to discuss Leo's latest projects, to share a new architectural theory, or simply to check in, his quiet affection for Jake and Leo palpable. He sometimes referred to the treehouse as his finest and most honest work, a testament not to his own design, but to the original spirit of love it embodied. One crisp autumn afternoon, many years after the treehouse's transformation, Jake and Lydia sat on the porch swing, watching the leaves drift from the old oak. The air carried the scent of wood smoke and damp earth, a familiar aroma that spoke of home. Jake's gaze drifted to the treehouse, its familiar silhouette a comfort against the deepening twilight. "Remember that old crooked plank?" Jake mused, his voice soft, a nostalgic smile playing on his lips. "The one Leo sanded for the window? I kept it." Lydia leaned her head on his shoulder. "I know. It's tucked away in your desk drawer, isn't it? A reminder of where we started." "It is," Jake affirmed. "A reminder that even the most imperfect beginnings can lead to something extraordinary. That sometimes the strongest foundations are built on nothing more than love and scrap wood." He thought of all the fathers he had met through Legacy Builds, men from all walks of life, each striving to give their children something meaningful. He saw fragments of his own story in theirs, the raw hope, the unwavering dedication, the quiet triumphs. He realized that his own journey, from a struggling cook to a national figure, was not unique in its essence, but rather a reflection of a universal truth, that love, in its purest form, was the most powerful building material of all. Later that week, Leo arrived home for a brief visit, his face tanned from the sun of a South American village, his eyes tired but bright with purpose. He immediately gravitated towards the treehouse, climbing inside with the familiar ease of a seasoned adventurer. Jake and Lydia watched him from below, their hearts full. As the sun began to set, casting long, stretching shadows across the yard, Leo emerged from the treehouse, a thoughtful expression on his face. He walked over to his parents, his gaze sweeping over the home, the yard, the treehouse. "You know," Leo began, his voice imbued with a quiet maturity, "all those places I've been, all those structures I've helped build, the big ones, the complex ones, they all come back to this treehouse. He gestured to the grand structure. They taught me that the real architecture isn't just about steel and glass. It's about how you connect people, how you support them, how you give them a place to dream. He looked at Jake, his eyes filled with profound gratitude and understanding. You taught me that, Dad. You built me more than a treehouse. You built me a blueprint for how to live, how to serve, how to love. Jake pulled his son into a firm embrace, his heart overflowing. The journey had come full circle. The love he had poured into that first, crooked treehouse had not only transformed his own life, but had now, through Leo, begun to transform the world. He was no longer just a struggling dad. He was a father, a mentor, a legacy builder, whose humble act of love had blossomed into a profound and enduring testament to the power of human connection, one crooked plank at a time. The treehouse, a silent witness to their unfolding story, stood tall, a beacon of hope, a permanent fixture in the landscape of their lives, a lasting symbol of a dream that had truly come home. The years continued their steady march, bringing with them both new joys and the inevitable gentle toll of time. The treehouse, once a shining testament to professional design, slowly settled into its role as a beloved, lived-in landmark. Its wood softened, its paint mellowed, but its sturdy bones remained, a silent sentinel over the changing seasons of the Abbott family's life. Leo, now a respected engineer with a global reputation for his innovative water solutions, visited less frequently, his work taking him to the farthest corners of the world, but his calls and his occasional, treasured visits were always a highlight, a reminder of the foundational love that had launched his own ambitions. Jake and Lydia, now in their twilight years, found a comfortable rhythm in their quieter life. The ranch, no longer a source of daily labor for Jake, was managed by a trusted team, but he still walked its perimeter most mornings, his hands clasped behind his back, his gaze sweeping over the land he had come to love. Lydia, with her endless energy, remained active in community projects, her compassionate spirit a guiding light for many. Their shared evenings were spent in quiet companionship, reading, conversing, or simply sitting on the porch swing, watching the stars emerge, their hands often finding each other, a silent affirmation of their enduring bond. Arthur Albright, their dearest friend and unexpected catalyst, passed away peacefully in his sleep, a few years after Leo had established his own nonprofit. His absence left a quiet void, a poignant reminder of the transient nature of life. But his legacy lived on, not just in the magnificent buildings he had designed, but in the countless lives he had touched through the brass. Legacy builds, initiative, and most profoundly, in the transformation of Jake and Leo's own lives. Jake often reflected on Albright's quiet wisdom, his ability to see beyond the surface, to recognize the heart in a humble act. It was a lesson Jake carried with him, applying it to every interaction, every challenge. One particularly warm summer evening, with the air thick with the scent of night-blooming jasmine, Jake and Lydia sat on their porch swing. The sky was a vast canvas of deep indigo, speckled with a million shimmering stars. The silhouette of the treehouse, illuminated faintly by the distant streetlights, stood tall and proud in the familiar oak. "Remember when you first saw it?" Lydia mused, her voice soft, her head resting on Jake's shoulder. "That crooked scrap wood mess?" Jake chuckled, a warm, nostalgic sound. "I remember thinking I was doing something grand, just by getting a few planks nailed together. Had no idea how much grander it would become." He squeezed her hand gently. "Or how much grander my life would become, all because of that crooked little structure." He thought about the vastness of the journey. From the constant gnawing worry of a struggling single parent, measuring success by the ability to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads, to a life of purpose, of contribution, of profound connection. He remembered the desperate hope he had poured into each uneven plank, the unshakable belief that even with borrowed tools and meager resources, he could build something truly special for his son. And then, the universe, in its own mysterious way, had sent Arthur Albright, a man of immense talent and quiet generosity, to elevate that humble effort into something extraordinary. The treehouse, now a weathered monument in their backyard, represented more than just wood and nails. It was a symbol of resilience, of the unexpected kindness of strangers, of the profound power of a father's love. It was a testament to the idea that even when life presented its most formidable challenges, even when the path ahead seemed uncertain, there was always hope, always the possibility of transformation, if one dared to be a dream and dared to build. Leo's next visit home was for his parents' anniversary. He brought with him news of a new water project in a remote village in the Himalayas, a complex undertaking that would bring clean water to thousands. He spoke of the challenges, the intricate engineering, the cultural sensitivities, his eyes alight with the same passion that had driven him to build imaginary forts in his treehouse years ago. That evening, as they sat around the old oak, Leo climbed into the treehouse, just like he had as a boy. Jake and Lydia watched him, a quiet pride swelling in their chests. After a while, Leo called down, his voice echoing from the sturdy walls. "Dad, Mom, come up here. I want to show you something." Jake and Lydia, with a little more effort now, ascended the sturdy steps. Inside the treehouse, bathed in the soft glow of interior lights, Leo stood by a small, newly installed plaque. On it was inscribed a simple dedication, words that Jake had never seen before: "Built with love, sustained by dreams." A testament to a father's heart, a son's imagination, and the unexpected kindness that builds legacies. Below the inscription, engraved deeply into the wood, was a small, crudely drawn outline of the original crooked treehouse, a silent nod to its humble beginnings. Jake felt a lump form in his throat, his eyes welling up with unshed tears. He looked at Lydia, her own eyes glistening, and then at Leo, his son, now a man, standing tall and proud in the space they had built together. The treehouse was not just a structure, it was a living story, a chronicle of their lives, a testament to the profound journey they had shared. "It's perfect, son," Jake managed to whisper, his voice thick with emotion. "Absolutely perfect." Leo smiled, a deep, contented smile that mirrored Jake's own. "It's our story, Dad, all of it." And in that moment, as they stood together in the heart of their magnificent treehouse, surrounded by the echoes of their past and the promise of their future, Jake knew, with an unshakable certainty, that his life, once defined by scarcity and struggle, was now overflowing with abundance. He was not just a man who had built a treehouse. He was a father whose love had built a legacy that continued to grow, reaching far beyond the confines of their backyard, touching lives and building hope, one dream, one act of kindness, one loving plank at a time. The treehouse, a silent, majestic witness, stood as a permanent reminder of the day. A struggling dad built a crooked but magical treehouse for his boy, unaware that a neighbor, a world-famous architect, would see not just wood and nails, but the enduring power of a father's love, forever changing their world.